All right. Hi, everyone. Welcome to Ask the Expert, a podcast where we speak with the people shaping the future of the offshore wind industry. I'm Colin Fields, Marketing and Communications Manager for the American Offshore Wind Academy, the academy that connects you with top experts in the offshore wind industry for your professional development. And today we'll be speaking with Richard Baldwin about future proofing our infrastructure for rapidly evolving turbine technology. So, yeah, thanks for coming on the podcast today, Rich. Why don't you just give us a brief introduction on yourself and then we'll dive right into our topic?
Sure. Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining us. Again, my name is Richard Baldwin. I'm a senior scientist with McAllister Marine Engineering. So I came into the offshore wind world actually as a hydrogeologist, worrying about contaminated sediments associated with ports that we were wanting to develop, specifically the New Bedford Marine Commerce Terminal. And we were looking at having to dredge contaminated sediments. It's all contaminated with PCBs or polychlorinated biphenyls. And through that, I became pretty much a subject matter expert or an SME on the requirements for offshore wind marshaling ports and the water side and the land side requirements. And then I've also kind of gotten into the logistics and the vessels, the specialized vessels that are required to build out the offshore wind industry.
Yeah, so Rich is definitely the guy we want to have to talk about this topic. A good seasoned veteran. So, yeah, I guess we'll jump right on into it. So,
Sounds
really,
good.
the offshore wind industry has witnessed kind of a remarkable surge in technological advancement over my lifetime, the last 25 years. There's really been sort of like an arms race to develop the most powerful and efficient turbines, and for good reason, too. I mean, this drive for upscaling is fueled by one, the need to meet ambitious renewable energy targets, but also to lower the levelized cost of energy for offshore wind. All of this kind of raises some critical questions about the industry's future. So, my first question for you, Rich, is basically we're seeing that turbines are steadily increasing in size, now reaching around 20 megawatts or bigger. And a lot of these models are being tested in Europe and Asia right now. So, really, what are the implications of a shift to utilizing these larger turbines, and what does that mean for the U.S. ports and vessel fleets? Are they fundamentally capable of handling these next generation turbines?
A really good question, and this gets into the main topic of called future proofing. Is what when is big enough big enough? So it's get back. You just use the acronym or the term levelized cost of energy, LCOE, and that's basically the cost to generate the electricity from the wall in.
Hmm.
And it's the drive is to lower the overall level cost of energy so that they can the wind developers and the wind farm operators can make money at what they're doing. And if you think about it, a few years ago, a 10 megawatt wind turbine generator, or a WTG, and I apologize for all the acronyms, but you just have to kind of get used to it. If you had 1,000 megawatt um, project out, if wherever it is, it's pretty simple math. If you had 1,000 megawatt project, you would need 110 megawatt units or wind turbine generators. If you had 20 megawatt units, then you would only need half of the number of lowers the overall cost because even though each wind turbine generator costs more, there's so many fewer of them. So it reduces the cost of the number and also all the cable runs and inter-array cables and the like. So that's what's driving this the industry right now to want to have larger and larger wind turbine generators. The issue is that these units are becoming so massive and so big that
Hmm.
the port facilities aren't really ready to accommodate them. We did do some future proofing with the Port of New Bedford, New Bedford Marine Commerce Terminal, but at a certain point, the costs are so high to get the kind of bearing capacities, the robustness of the port infrastructure that it's just you can't. It wouldn't be cost effective to say, oh, maybe we'll have 30 megawatt units in the next few years, and we should build for that.
Mhm.
It's just so expensive, and then also just the components are getting so much bigger. The fleet of the world's installation vessels or wind turbine cannot handle these larger units. So the uh, the the wind turbine, a lot of the specialized vessels are kind of becoming out of date and obsolete with respect to the size of the generator or the units that they're wanting to install.
Yeah, I mean, obsolescence is definitely an issue we're concerned about, but I mean, I'm more of wondering how the vessels and port designs are evolving to accommodate these larger turbines. I mean, I know the ones we have in the US right now are not equipped, but I mean, what kind of upgrades do you see necessary?
That's again, it all gets back to the robustness of the quaysides and the upland parts of the ports. They all have to have certain bearing capacities to handle all the cranes. And there's something called self-propelled modular transports. They're the creepy crawlers that they move around. It's a problem for all of our ports. You know, New Bedford Marine Commerce Terminal, Portsmouth, the New Jersey Offshore Wind Port,
Hmm.
um, and the Connecticut State Pier, which are the main ones that we have right now. We one way that people are talking about getting around it with the vessels is so the U.S. market, because of the Jones Act, is requiring the use of feeder vessels where the offshore wind turbine installation vessel stays offshore and they get fed by these. Well,
Hmm.
if they are able to do that successfully, they could actually have smaller decked wind turbine installation vessels. And it's all about the crane capacity. And there is talk about retrofitting a lot of these vessels. With bigger cranes, higher lift cranes. And again, if you don't have to necessarily have a huge deck space for all of your components because you're having the feeder barges come in, that could help also.
Sure. Yeah. And I mean, we're seeing like right now, probably 15 megawatt turbines starting to come online, and then the larger ones like 20 being in development. Do you see this slowing down at all, or do you think OEMs will continue to upscale?
Well, it's an interesting question. So we used to say that 20 megawatts was the absolute largest that anybody would ever want, the geometry of the three turbines that we see. But we're hearing rumors of 25 and 27 megawatt units.
Hmm.
And again, the whole purpose of this is the more powerful or the higher capacity of the offshore wind turbine generators themselves, the lower the levelized cost of energy. There's a trade show every year called the International Partnering Forum,
Hmm.
and about 2 or 3 years ago, a lot of the OEMs were discussing like trying to limit and say, look, let's just assume nobody's going to go bigger than a 15 megawatt unit so that the industry can catch up and we can actually start installing these things. And it seems like everybody will nod their heads and say, hey, that sounds like a really good idea. But then you hear about them using like 20 megawatt units or 21 megawatt units. And so, I think it's just bottom line economics driving the various developers who are installing these things.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Well, I mean, that's kind of all the time we have for now, but thanks a lot, Rich. I mean, I appreciate your insights. That'll be it for this episode of Ask the Expert. If you want to learn more about ports and vessels, be sure to check out our 2-day virtual course. I believe that's happening June 9th to 10th. Rich will be actually instructing the course alongside Jay Borkland, covering everything you need to know about port and vessel operations in the offshore wind industry. And if you have any questions for Rich or for me, feel free to drop them in the comments below. And yeah, thanks everyone for tuning in.